On a quiet morning in a coastal town, thousands of shoes washed ashore after a fierce storm. People came hunting bargains and oddities. No one noticed the briefcase at first. Clara did. It was supposed to be an ordinary day off. The storm had left the beach scattered with sneakers, flip-flops, and the odd dress shoe. An impossible mismatched display. Kids darted between piles of footwear. Locals loaded trunks with anything wearable. For most, the beach was a chaotic treasure hunt. For Clara, it was a place to wander and maybe find something useful. She wandered the shoreline with the rest, scanning for a prize. Pairs of shoes, some brand new, lay ankle-deep in sand and seaweed. She picked up a few, shrugged, and kept walking. Then something flashed, a metallic edge half buried in damp sand. Clara brushed away grit and found a sleek silver briefcase standing upright like a small monument among the sneakers. At first, she hesitated. A briefcase on the beach screamed private. But it was heavy, it looked deliberate. Curiosity won. She lifted it and, feeling the weight, carried it away from the crowd to inspect it alone. Reporters swarmed elsewhere, chasing the absurd footwear story. No one paid attention to the small box Clara carried home. Back in her kitchen, Clara wrestled with the lock. With an Allen wrench as a makeshift pry, the case popped open with a metallic bang. Inside, not cash, not papers, but a bulky, matte black device that looked like an oversized radio. A heavy, rugged phone with thick grips and an unfamiliar round switch. It felt like something designed to work when everything else had failed. For 10 minutes she fiddled, listening to static and odd tones. Then, through the hiss, a voice, thin and urgent, came through. "Help, please, this is Benjamin." The name landed in her chest like a stone. The man's words were short and frantic, coordinates, a report of a listing vessel, warnings about a reef, and pleas for rescue. The voice begged that the device be taken to authorities. Clara's choice was suddenly very small and very enormous. She drove to the station, the briefcase on the passenger seat, feeling the weight of whatever fate had decided to place in her hands. At the police station, she explained what she'd found. Officers listened as the device crackled Benjamin's voice again. The tone of the room changed. Calls were made. The Coast Guard was alerted. They wanted Clara to join the mission, partly because the device might help re-establish contact, partly because she was the finder, and sometimes the finder becomes the eyewitness a rescue needs. She agreed, hands shaking, believing this small act could mean the difference between life and death. Under a high, pale sky, the Coast Guard cutter pushed away from the harbor. Clara stood on the deck and listened through a relay radio while crews suited up and moved aboard the distressed vessel. The coordinates matched the signal. Hours passed like a held breath. Then, on the horizon, a silhouette, a large cargo ship listing poorly, containers tilting like stacked rooms gone wrong. Waves slapped its hull. One side rode lower than the other. Team members boarded under careful, practiced pressure. Clara stayed with the supporting boat, voice and radio close and raw. From her vantage point, she watched the boarding crews move like slow, bright ants across the tilted deck. On the relay, she could hear shouted names, the lamp clink of boots, and then, finally, voices. "We've got movement!" Figures appeared on deck, small and tired. Crew members descended a ladder, each step an enormous risk. One by one, they hit the Coast Guard deck and were wrapped in blankets, checked for shock, given warm drinks. Then he stepped down, Benjamin. Their eyes met. For a moment, the ocean erased everything else. He staggered forward and hugged Clara with an intensity that made the sea hush. "You found it," he whispered. "You found it, and—" His voice broke. The crew's story spilled out in the hours that followed. A distracted watch, a reef the sonar missed, water pouring in the belly of the ship. Containers were cut loose to keep the hull from sinking. One of those containers had held the briefcase with the satellite device inside. A small, waterproof box tossed into the sea would have been useless without someone like Clara to find it. Back in town, the rescued men were taken to ambulances and then to warm beds. Reporters now had a story to run, from runaway shoes to a near disaster averted. The salvage teams returned in the weeks after, cranes and divers threading the water to bring up goods that weren't meant to be lost. For Clara, the days that followed were full: interviews, quiet phone calls from Benjamin, and then a hospital visit where jokes were exchanged like bandages. In the months that followed, friendship grew between finder and rescued man. They shared coffee, long walks on calmer beaches, and small, ordinary conversations that stitched two lives together after a violent event. Benjamin returned to sea, but the two stayed close, visiting, sharing news, and, when schedules allowed, traveling short trips together. It's strange, isn't it, how an object can carry a life across the ocean. A briefcase that might have been garbage became the thread that saved a ship full of people. A single choice, to pry a lock, to drive to a police station, to say yes, rewound a likely tragedy into a rescue. Clara's small decision turned into someone else's second chance. If you enjoyed this story, hit like and subscribe, and share it with a friend. Tell us, what would you have done if you found that case? Drop your answer in the comments. Thanks for sailing through this one with us. See you in the next story. Light the lantern. Join the journey. Subscribe.